Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, host of this podcast. Excited to be here. New setup if you're watching on YouTube. I always see these podcasts where people are just sitting comfortably on a couch or a chair, the YouTube podcasts. And I wasn't sitting comfortably like that. I started out with a desk and a kind of a desk chair. I guess a normal chair, but a hard chair. That wasn't comfortable. I don't like sitting on normal chairs. And so then I tried sitting on the floor with a normal size desk, kind of. I moved to a children's table, sitting on yoga props. Anyway, now I moved this chair in here in where I teach yoga, and I hope it's not too noisy because I will move around, but that's how it is. And that's kind of the fun of the hyperactive ADHD is that not only do you move around a lot, you have a lot of energy, but you also keep changing your mind and doing other things, impulsive things like, I think I should change how I sit. I think I should change the whole room. I'm going to change all these bookcases, shelves and things. So anyway, here I go. Hopefully I'm not too loud. And I know I said that before, but hello, welcome back. Welcome back from me. I went on a trip, came back. In my perfect world, I was going to hit the ground running, make some podcast episodes last week. Did not happen. Still got a lot done, but this wasn't one of the things I got done. And here I am, Tuesday, with another podcast episode, a week late, but here I am. And that is something I want to talk about today. Not overwhelm, which could happen with something you need to do, or procrastination. I know people call it procrastination. I don't really call it that with ADHD. I just think it's something you can't do yet. It's not like you're purposely moving it till the last minute. You're trying to do it the whole time. I'm not talking about that, even though I am talking about that. And I'm really talking, I can't remember the third thing I'm not talking about, but I am talking about obsessive compulsive behaviors, traits that can be part of your ADHD, whether you are diagnosed with an obsessive compulsive disorder or not. So the OCD, that is the disorder that people talk about the most, that is obsessive compulsive disorder. OCPD is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And I'm just going to go and give you a few things to distinguish, but I'm really going to talk about OCPD today, not OCD. OCD is an anxiety disorder. You can have anxiety and OCPD. You can have anxiety and ADHD. You can have ADHD and OCD. But OCD is not a personality disorder. It is not a neurodevelopmental disorder. It is an anxiety disorder. And it is driven from anxiety. Anxiety drives it. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's a disorder that you have from the time you're born. You may not see the symptoms from the time you're born, but your parents may be picking up on some things, and likely your parents didn't pick up on them because most of us have been diagnosed far, far later than being a child. And it's not something that our parents spotted or still maybe even understand how you have it. But it's something that was the way your brain was developed from the time you were born. OCPD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder. In the PD, it tells you it's a personality disorder. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist, but it's something that's developed usually, at least what I read, in adulthood, usually in young adulthood. I don't know that I had it in young adulthood. So I'm going to raise my hand and say, not in my life, we're all different. For me, I didn't see any of this in young adulthood. Tomorrow I'm turning 61. I'm not even close to a young adult anymore. I mean, from looking at me, talking to me, hearing about my life, it doesn't sound like I'm a young adult anyway, but I still have the hyperactive energy of a young adult for sure. But back to OCPD. It is a strong need for control and order. Does that mean you're a perfectionist? No. It's not OC perfection disorder. It's not that you're a perfectionist. You might have that tendency to not stop because you're trying to get it perfect, but it doesn't mean everywhere that you look. I used to think, at least I tend to think, that a perfectionist means that if I walk into someone's house, and I've done this before, I've always been curious about people's houses and how they organize their closets, drawers, cupboards, decorate their houses, everything. From the time I was little, my mom noticed that about me, looking in people's cupboards and just being fascinated with order and noticing how they did things, whether it's different than us or the same or whatever, like, oh, they stock their medicine like this. It's just a very curious child, which could be part of, what are we talking about? ADHD as well. But back to the perfectionism. It doesn't mean that you're doing it because you need things to be perfect. You can have perfectionism. You can have that trait, and it doesn't mean everything in your life is perfect. I've had conversations with friends back when we didn't know we had ADHD or much about it. But we'd say things like, I used to be a perfectionist until I had kids. Like, I used to always want my room to be clean and organized and color code my closet, or have things, where everything has a place and everything in its place, except for the things that we don't want to do, right? I never liked to put clothes away after I did laundry. Still don't. But I had a strong need for order on my dresser with things folded. I love to fold them in a perfect way. But just because you have a need for things to be perfect doesn't mean everything's perfect. Doesn't mean you're capable of attaining that. So that's one thing. And this is just me talking. This isn't anything that doctors have defined. This is just my understanding of perfectionism, or my understanding of, if you have that need, does that mean that you do it? No. And that could be why things drive you crazy, is that you want things to be perfect. You walk around and you see the imperfections everywhere you go. This is me. I see little specks on the floor. I reach down, pick them up, or I don't, and they still drive me crazy. And I think I just want my floors to be clean all the time. Not realistic. More people live in the house than me. And the balance part of me wants people to enjoy life and not have them just be on edge when they come in the house. But afterwards, I just see it, right? And I'm not mad at anybody for doing it, but it's just what I see. I go in to teach yoga, and while I'm teaching, I notice the little specks on the floor. Doesn't mean the room was dirty when we got there. I've learned, especially in the hot yoga studio, that when we walk around, things fall off of us that aren't the color of the floor. And all of a sudden I see a little white speck, and I think, that wasn't there when I walked in. But now that 5 people have walked in and taken their things to their mat and put their things away, those things are on the floor. Do they stand out? Yeah. Do they bug me? Yeah, I notice them. But I might tell myself some things. Just say, it's okay, let go of that, it's fine. just keep teaching your class. Or I get off my mat and I pick them up and kind of put them in my bag or something. I don't even throw them away, but I just put them out of sight, out of mind. So that's my level of perfectionism, is out of sight, out of mind. Not always out of mind, but if you don't have time to do something, like you've got paperwork that's piling up and you put it in a bag and hide it in a closet, it looks better, right? Or you have a big pile of laundry that needs to be folded and you throw a blanket over it. I don't know if anybody else does that, but that's been my method since I had kids. Throw the big quilt over it when I don't have time to deal with it. But you might have a level of perfectionism, and you might have a strong need for control and order. So even though the P isn't for perfectionism and OCPD, you are driven by having things a certain way, whether that's perfect or not. Does it bug you to see a picture that's crooked? It's on my phone. Sorry, I hear a sound. I don't think I set an alarm. Oh, I have yoga in 15 minutes. Okay, I just have to. Sorry, this is like real life here at my house, and I'm just doing that. Oh my goodness. Yes, I have my Zoom yoga in 13 minutes actually. So I'm actually going to have to pause this just a second. If you're watching on Zoom, next time you see me, lighting might be different. I might even be wearing something different. My alarm just went off on my phone, and I have to teach a Zoom yoga class in 13 minutes. So I'm just going to complete this thought and come back and finish the podcast after my next 2 classes. But to the definition of OCPD, to the requirements to get a diagnosis, I don't know that I have the requirements to get a diagnosis, but I just want to share these things with you because you might wonder, why do I make it so hard on myself? Why do I decide things like I'm going to change the way the room's organized, or I'm going to paint the room, or I'm going to do something different, and then it leads to a need to keep working on that. And you give yourself more work to do. You give yourself, if you compare yourself to others, you notice that not everybody's doing this all the time, that you're spending so much time or complicating your life because of your desire to have things be a perfect way. And with OCPD, so if you think of obsessive, an obsessive person, to be diagnosed with OCPD, a person must have I'm just reading this, a pervasive pattern of preoccupation with order, perfectionism, and control. That order may not be in your house. It might show up in a different way, or a need for something to be a certain way. When I go to teach a yoga class, I have more and more ideas of, it would be nice to have this. Maybe bring a mister to spray on the people's faces with essential oils at the end of class. I add that to my bag. It would be nice to have singing bowls. It would be nice to have this. It would be nice to have extra towels for people who don't have them, so I don't have to kick them out. It would be nice. So I keep thinking of these things to make it nicer, that sense of order or perfectionism or whatever I think that would be in that class. And when I'm walking into the gym, I am carrying my life with me, a rolling suitcase, a big bag, a certain mat. I have multiple mats. Do you buy multiples of things because you like this better for this situation? You have this bag for this. You have this bag because you don't want to have the imperfect situation when you're in a situation. And you're trying to set yourself up for success to make it easier for your brain to function, which we really do need to do. But are you making it a little more difficult when you pack your bags to go on a trip? Are you packing for everything in the world? And you don't necessarily need it, but you do need it. Your brain needs it. You feel like you need it in order to be able to just be comfortable and know that you have your options. So all those things that you have in your mind for how it needs to be, and you look at somebody else and they're not packing all those things, they're not having that level of attainment. I think of it as a high maintenance way of living. Maybe not with hair, clearly. Sorry, I hit the microphone, but I just pull my hair back in a ponytail. I honestly think it looks better than trying to fix it. And I'm happy with it. And I could teach yoga all the time. But whatever that is, your level, it might not be about how you look. You might not care if your fingernails are painted or your toenails. I'm starting to think I'm the only person who's never gotten a manicure or doesn't even want to. I mean, obviously, there's other people, but it just seems like something that people like to do. But certain things you might not care about, but other things, other people might super care about their fingernails and always need them to be done and always have them. But what is your thing? And the diagnosis requires at least 4 of 8 specific symptoms. And these are some of them. Excessive devotion to work. When you work and you work and you work and you work and you just want to keep going. And you just got to work. People might call you a workaholic, or you might go to work on something that's not related to actually a work situation. And you go deep into it. It's that hyper focus. It's that I got to do it. For me, it's an energy I get by accomplishing things. I'm not trying to meet someone else's expectation. I'm just so excited to be accomplishing something. It just feels so good. So that could be that excessive devotion. Inflexibility with rules. Are you inflexible about the way things are? It doesn't have to be the way things look. But are you inflexible? Think about that, because I'll come back. I'll see if I think of something before I come back. Inability to delegate tasks. Would you much rather do it yourself than delegate? Because then you can just get it done. Part of that too with ADHD, I think it's hard to just explain to people sometimes, to get your vision. If you want it done a certain way, to explain that it's just easier to do it yourself than to manage other people or any of that. And then having rigid ways in your life. The other one, I don't even know what this other word means, so I'm not going to say it. But they also either cause distress in you or cause distress or impairment in social situations. So it can affect relationships. It can affect your workplace. It can affect other areas of functioning. So it might not affect you at work. It might not affect you in your family, but does it affect you with your ability to function? For me with ADHD, 100%. Speaking of which, I need to go because I have to set up my yoga. This is a different setup. But yeah, I spent far more time getting this set up in the last 4 days than I needed to, but I did need it. I needed it for my own brain. And this is a disorder that can't necessarily be fixed. I don't know that it can be fixed. I don't know that it really can be helped with medication. The medications I saw that treat it are either antidepressives or anti-anxiety medicine. It's not really driven by anxiety, but maybe having that increase of those chemicals or that different balance of chemicals could help with this. I haven't tried either of those medications. Don't plan on it. There are a lot of different behavioral therapy methods that could help with this, but a lot of self-awareness too. But I'm going to end it here. I will be back. It's just going to be how it's going to be. I'm going to have to live with that imperfection. And I'll be back after my yoga, but probably with different lighting. Hopefully not a different day. Hello again. Not only is it a new day, but it's 2 days later. I was not able to get back on that day, that night. Lots of things going on. It was my birthday yesterday, so we did something the night before, and yesterday it was just back-to-back plans. Today I'm leaving to go on a trip after teaching my 4th class. So I'm just going to finish up this episode. It won't be as long. I don't have 2 this week. I didn't have any last week. If you're listening a year later, none of this matters to you, and maybe it doesn't matter anyway, but I just want you to know it matters to me. Hopefully I have my mic placed right, but I'm not going to give up. I will keep trying to be consistent here with the podcast. But I was talking about OCPD, and I want to talk about obsessive behaviors and compulsive behaviors and what that means. It helps me to look up a definition and see what it actually means, because you might be able to identify with some of it. I mean, you might be able to even without me saying that, but I'll try anyway. But an obsessive behavior is something that is related to an irresistible urge, especially if it's against what you want to be doing. I think of when I'm in some mode of feeling kind of obsessive about it. Sometimes that could be a hyper focus. But when I start to notice, I really should stop doing this. It's not serving me well. It's not what I want to be doing now, but I keep going with it. Or when my kids were younger, well, when my youngest daughter was a teenager, she'd say, Mom, it just doesn't matter. Like, you don't need to, she wasn't saying this, but be obsessive about it. And I think, but it matters to me because I had that irresistible urge. Sometimes I could stop it, especially if someone helped me. But I mean, these were all healthy obsessions. They weren't anything that was damaging, but it did get in the way of my day. Or it can get in the way of a week or something that you want to get done. So that would be something that's obsessive. Maybe even what your habits are, like with listening to listening to music, or watching movies or watching shows. You might start out thinking, I'm going to just watch one episode tonight, and then you're up till 2 a.m. because it becomes this compulsion. Like you just think, oh, I just like this, and you keep doing it. So that's more of a compulsive behavior. And listening to music, I think of getting obsessed very easily when I just hear a song. It could be someone's Instagram post, and I hear this song, and then I get the curiosity part leads me to some kind of obsession where I not only look up that whole song or look up that musician or have some question, and I might spend the next hour or two just watching YouTube videos or listening to a whole album or writing to people about it. The need to share. It can just turn into more of an obsession. And I realize when I do this isn't what I woke up to do today, not even close. And I'm sharing all these details with my kids in our family chat. They're probably not interested, but it becomes obsessive to me. Let me just look up compulsive definition. I looked it up and I thought I wrote it down. But it's an action. It's an. Okay. The compulsion is the irresistible urge to behave in a certain way. And I feel I have to start over. But I'm not going to because I will never get this done. So just they're very closely related. Huh? Compulsion is the irresistible urge to behave in a certain way. So what is obsessive? Let's look that up. Clearly close. Obsessive definition. Oh, don't tell me that. Doing something to an unreasonable degree. So who gets to define that? The compulsion, I guess, is when we have that awareness of not maybe not always the awareness, but when we know it's against what we want to be doing. I think they're really closely related. An obsession, you cannot stop doing a particular thing or behaving in a particular way. That compulsion, I can see some differences because an obsessive nature could be like, especially with OCPD, is wanting it to be a certain way. The compulsion is actually the act, but an obsession can definitely be tied to that. So you just got to witness me giving up on a perfectionistic aspect of wanting to start this over. But it's all very interesting because I think it can play into our lives. It can show up in our lives in so many ways. You might walk into a store and plan to do one thing, like I'm going to go to Target and I'm going to buy some shampoo, some laundry detergent, or whatever it is you want to go to Target for, just get some staples. And then off to the side, you see the clothing section and you see things for little children. If you have little children, or for me, I have grandchildren, I think that's really cute. That would be a cute dress for Piper. And it's not very expensive. And then I go over there and then I start getting obsessive with it because then I think maybe I should get her a few outfits. Well, if I do that, I should get something for her brothers too. And then I'm spending all this time going down this new obsessive mode, down this path of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And at some point, I realize this isn't what you came in here for. It's becoming expensive now, and you don't need to spend money on this. You're not even sure of their sizes. That's going to complicate things if I have to make returns or if I have to text somebody and say what size and then don't hear back. So you start to do things that didn't start out as even your desire at all. And it could go along with your desire. Like if you listen to the same album over and over and over and over, and that's all you want to do, or that's all you want to listen to, in some ways, how is that harmful, right? You just listen to the same album over and over. I used to do that back in the days when we had cassette tapes or CDs. You can just put it in your car and let it play and play and play and play. I did that with Mercury Falling album by Sting for at least a year. And now, of course, every song on there, and I know every word, every song reminds me of that time. Taking my son to school, driving on a trip to my brothers at Las Vegas and the drive back, all these things, because it doesn't actually bring me to one specific thing because I listen to it so much. But I love doing that. Another compulsion might be to not stop the song until it's completed. I don't know if you've ever done that. You're driving the car, you're having a good time listening to that song, maybe even dancing in your seat because you might have more of a hyperactive nature. I have a really hard time hearing a good beat and not moving. Even in the movie theater, it's really hard. But yeah, I look around and it's not just, I'm young and hyper. I'm not young and I'm still hyper. But that is something that I do. And then when the song isn't over, but I arrived at where I need to go, and there might be other people with me, I want to sit in the car until the song's done. Why? Because it feels complete. It's a compulsion that I have. So you might have different obsessive or compulsive behaviors, whether or not they add up to OCPD or not, is something else, because the diagnosis requirements, I don't know. I'm kind of curious because I have to see the psychiatrist every 3 months in order to stay on my ADHD medication, in order to meet the requirements for the state, since it's a controlled substance. And I do have an appointment in November. I could ask him, would you want, because it's a video appointment and I've never met him before, so he might want to talk to me about that in person, but I could ask him about it. Maybe I will, because I don't feel like it disrupts other people. I know for ADHD, what I've read for the requirements in the US, the DCM-5, I can't believe I remember that. That's the diagnostic. Now I'm gonna mess up if I try to remember what that's for. But those symptoms that you have for ADHD, to meet the diagnosis, they want it to be disruptive in different areas of your life. They don't want you to have it be disruptive, but in order to get the diagnosis, does it affect your ability to function at home? Does it affect you at work, or when you were in school, or could you see it in all these different parts of your life? And does it cause a problem? And for OCPD, there is something about that, but about the need for it to cause a problem, but it doesn't say it has to be more than one area. With ADHD, I'm pretty sure, without looking at it right now, because I don't always remember details without reading them again, but for the OCPD, I'm pretty sure it just says that it must lead to problems, distress in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. And it might just be all you. It might be all within you, and you realize, I'm not functioning as well because I go on these obsessive paths. It takes me so much longer to go to the store, or I leave stressed because I stressed myself out trying to think about all the money aspects of it. Like, well, now this is getting too expensive, and this is what you came, you have these little battles in your head. Yeah. And the preoccupation with details, rules, order, whether you actually keep it to that level or not, you might. But if you are always thinking of that, mindful of that, perfectionism is part of it. Inflexibility, having someone else have to tell you, you don't have to do it this way, and you're saying, yes, I do. This is another one that could be, besides, I think I mentioned earlier, and the 2 days ago part of this episode, but was not being willing to delegate. You'd much rather do it yourself. And this could be one of the things that just how people say, oh, everyone has a little ADHD. Maybe everyone has a little of, I'd rather do it myself than delegate. But maybe they don't. And maybe they don't to the degree that you do. Another thing here is inability to discard items. Not being able to get rid of things that are worthless, that are worn out, or really don't have a purpose. It could be with or without sentimental value. There are a lot of things that we have a hard time getting rid of because of the sentimental value, but could it be for other reasons? For me, I like really pretty papers and fabrics. So I might have a sweater that I love hand-me-downs too. I might have a sweater that I bought like at a thrift store or was given to me by somebody, and I love it, but it never really fit me right. I will cut up part of the sweater just to keep part of the fabric and use it for something else, kind of repurpose. But I have part of this purple sweater. The little pieces I was using it, like as a little slider on the hardwood floor under something. Oh, it was under my spin bike. I'll keep papers from things that, like a card, Christmas cards, birthday cards, but even just like a little piece of paper that looks like wrapping paper that's pretty. I don't even know why I have things like that. I do, and I don't know where they came from. I'll hold on to them because they're pretty. There's no sentimental value, and yet I still can't get rid of it. So gosh, now I'm thinking this will be really easy for the psychiatrist. I'm really curious. I think I might ask them about it if I remember. Do you forget things a lot? I certainly do, but I think I might remember to ask this. But figuring out If you have obsessive behaviors to any degree, you might already realize that you do. But looking at it a little deeper, maybe reading up on OCPD may help you understand yourself better. I don't know that I want to do any of the therapeutic treatment options. I just feel like I don't know, I made it this far in life. It's not causing problems for anyone. I really don't have time or the patience to add more to my life right now. So, but and I don't really want to take any other medication. So the medication options they say that sometimes are prescribed for OCPD is different serotonin reuptake inhibitors to help reduce anxiety and depression associated with OCPD. But I don't know. I will ask my psychiatrist if the medications, if they really just treat the depression or the anxiety, would that change the symptoms? And if I don't have depression or anxiety, then then that doesn't even make sense. But yeah, developing healthy coping mechanisms. Engage in relaxation techniques. I do yoga like 10 or 12 times a week. And it could be 11. I'm trying to be exact here, but I do yoga a ton. I have mindfulness practices. I exercise. And yet I still do this, but maybe I'd do it worse if I didn't. That's always the other part of it. Establishing routines and structure. Anytime that you're in that flow of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you're more likely to stay in that flow of what you're doing, whatever your habit is, than to get off in this track. And recognizing what you're doing and trying to give yourself some kind of message like stand up now. You don't need to be going down this rabbit hole on this website right now, starting to think about Christmas shopping. You don't need to do that right now. You need to do this instead, and give yourself those pep talks. It looks like I do have to leave. Speaking of a pep talk, I would love to talk more. And I'm going to be out of town till Sunday. I'm going to my uncle's memorial in Virginia. So I'm going to be flying out in the morning, but I'm driving closer to the airport tonight. So I will be back. And I actually really, really like this setup now. It just feels so comfortable. I think it'll be easier for me to be more consistent. I hope, because it's not much different from my yoga teaching. That's just right there. And I really just have to turn a few lights and turn the computer a different way. So I will get this episode out to you. My apologies for not being around, but I'm still here. I'm still here. If you haven't given me a review yet on my podcast, give me 5 stars. Give me a little boost, or download the episodes if you haven't subscribed. And then you'll know when I have more, because right now they're a little bit sporadic, but hopefully I'll get a little more regular with that. But thanks so much, and I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your week. Bye.